are times when you are practically just maybe having fun, yeah, or trying to unwind, and then you come across things that hit you. They just they just get you thinking, and that's what happened to me one day when I was watching. I can't remember the movie, but the entire concept was around buying a home for £1 or $1, and a certain young lady left her father and went to a country, I think it was Italy or Spain, and got the house. And oh my God, she had to do the renovations and everything. Long story short, there were three ladies, the three Antonias. They were all named Antonia. They were always sitting by the fountain and crocheting. And then, of course, if you want some tea, I don't mean tea as but tea in a teapot. They were the teapots, and if you wanted some tea about the community or anything, guess who you'd find anything out from? The three Antonias. And then they talked about, they were happy, so to speak, about a concept that, like I said, caught my attention. And that was how this episode came about. It is the Italian philosophy of the sweetness of doing nothing. They call it la dolce far niente. I hope I pronounced that right. La dolce far niente. Today, on this episode, we'll be discussing the sweetness of doing nothing. I'm not talking about nothingness. I'm not talking about idleness. Come to think of it, an idle mind is the devil's workshop, right? Oh well, let's get into the episode, right? Now, before we get even into the sweetness of doing nothing, I found out that there are a lot of reasons why, as parents, right, we unconsciously are programmed to always strive to do something, to be busy, to be productive. And very recently, our over communicated society is not even helping matters. We are always constantly on the phone, pinging or chatting, getting notifications, and then our attention span is literally almost fried. Is this an average adult has maybe at least 5 social media apps, and then you go from one to the next. Oh, I finished checking the notifications on this one, or I finished swiping through, scrolling through mindlessly. You hop on the next one, and that becomes your routine. So when you're not busy at work, when you're not busy being productive, you're busy being busy being on your phone, on your devices, lost in an alternate world. Should I call that the metaverse, right? So this programming is now like a default setting. We are so unconscious to it that it just runs, it plays. And today, I hope that by watching this episode, you'll pause that OS and maybe delete it, because I think it would get to a point where you'd realize that a lot of time went by, so to speak. A lot of time went by, and your daughter, who was 3 years old just 2 years ago, is now 5, and so she'll be 10. Your son, who's 10 now, will be an adult soon, and you have spent most of the time you would have spent imparting him being busy. And most of the times, being busy does not even equal to being productive now. The first myth, let's talk about the paradox, first and foremost, of modern parenting. The first main myth I have is constant activity equals good parenting. Because we say we should be present with our children, we now assume that what we're saying is always be with them. You have to spend every waking moment talking with them, chatting with them, playing with them. You overschedule every single moment of their lives, so much so that, yes, while routines are supposed to be beautiful, there's no room for spontaneity, there's no room for adventure, there's no room for them to sit down and just be, let's say, idle. By that I mean you have not put any activity in that time block for them to just be bored. You see, when a lot of people complain about boredom, they do so because they see it as something that is negative. It's actually something that is very, very beautiful, because it gives your brain, gives your mind time to be still, time to be quiet, time to even rumble on and all until you can bring it to focus on something, time to heal from all the overload you're getting, the overstimulation you're getting from constantly scrolling, constantly watching, constantly doing. And from that boredom, you'll be amazed that a problem you had before, a solution will just come out from nowhere because your brain has had time to unwind and can now produce unconsciously. The next myth would be children need to be constantly engaged and stimulated. That is very related to the first one. Children need downtime too. They come back from school. There's always from one activity to the next. My husband calls it robotic programming. This robot just knows that from this is you go there and there. How about scheduling time for nothing? Like, okay, from so and so time, you can play with yourself, spend time in your company. I tell my daughters, if you do not enjoy your own company, how can other people enjoy it? If you do not enjoy being with yourself, how can other people enjoy being with you? It is in those moments, away from everything, away from the impressions on your mind, away from the influence on your mind, you begin to question, okay, why am I even this way? I had one year or so, or more rather, downtime, and it gave me a lot to think about. What colors interest me? Why do I like A, B, C, or D? What negative cycles am I continuing? That is, have I been past? Sorry, rather, I've been passed to me. Am I continuing? Am I perpetuating? How can I begin to end them? What limiting beliefs do I have? What negative biases have fed me up till now? What mental models have powered my. Okay, full disclosure, I used to be very scared of success. This vulnerability thing, God help us. I used to be very, very scared of success. I used to feel like, okay, when you're successful, you'll lose the people who you care about or your loved ones. And it made me want to play it safe or play it small. I had to, that downtime gave me time to look at why, like really troubleshooting, find out in depth, why am I really like, what am I afraid of? What influenced me to think about that. I saw that a lot of women who were successful were either divorced, separated, single, or just by themselves, probably had partners. And I began to consciously look out for women who were successful, who still had their marriages and their families and their loved ones, and who could actually strike a balance. And that led me to creating a system. I call it a square system for my life. A system wherein I spend 90 days or 12 weeks learning a keystone habit or skill for myself, the same thing for my marriage, for my children, and then for my career. That way, I am very okay with having 80% in all four areas instead of towing the path on maybe my career to 150 and then my parenting is on 70. You see, when you sit with yourself in that idleness, in that moment where you are not doing much or you're not doing anything, you are learning about this person called you, so that you are not living based on the interpretation of yourself other people have given you. You're not living based on the impression of yourself other people have given you. You're not loving certain things because other people say so. You don't want to go on dates because people have made it a standard. You are doing it because of you. What ideas are even yours? Are you borrowing it from someone? Have you adopted it from constantly being exposed to their spaces or work? What is truly your own? The values you uphold, are they for you? Can you defend them? Are there reasons why you love certain things? You see, when you do not engage your children, you actually teach them. It's not just enough to schedule empty time or time for nothing. Teach them how to make use of that time. You can teach them to just sit by themselves. Okay, can you journal any thoughts in your mind? Can you just play? Can you do anything that is absolutely nothing, that will not count as work, and just be by yourself? Probably you will find out a lot about yourself in that process. The next myth will be the busy parent myth. The prevalent myth that being busy equals being productive and successful. A lot of people are always busy. You hear that you hear that, I'm fully booked from January through to maybe June. And when you ask them, most of the times they are fully booked with work. They are going from one meeting to the other. They are going from one trip to the next. They're going from one location to the next. And Vuzi said something in the leadership conference he had with TD Jakes, that got me thinking. He talked about him wanting his children, I'm actually paraphrasing, please, wanting his children to understand that he's doing this for them without actually telling them what's in it for them. You see, most of the times, because we've been called to a life of purpose, we are so fixated, we are so carried away by wanting to do more, wanting to be more, that we forget that purpose is not just in one area of our lives. As a father, you are called to your purpose as a man, to your purpose as a husband, to your purpose as a parent, and whatever other, to your purpose as a brother, to your purpose as a son, to your purpose as a leader, a prophet, a teacher, a mentor, and of course, your workplace, whatever life's work you have to do. So if you're facing one area and neglecting the other, time will soon catch up with you, and you find out that you may have spent most of the time doing one and not pouring into the other. Of course, there'll be a deficit, and most of the times you may not have the time to fix it. Yes, a lot of people are of the opinion that opportunities once lost can be gotten back. But if you had the opportunity to train your children in certain ways when they were 5, will you ever have an opportunity back again when they are 10? You see, even if you be able to teach them when they are 10, it will not be as effective or efficacious as if you had done it when they were 5. You find out that what if you don't even make it to their 10th birthday, right? When you're procrastinating, let me just make it first, and then when I've made it, I can now make out time for all of these. You act like you have a license to knowing that you'll be there in the future. See, as human beings, we keep planning for the future, forgetting that it's only today that is guaranteed. You don't even know if you're going to make it till tomorrow. You don't know if you're going to pass today. I'm not saying this to scare you. I started being conscious more about death when I learned about memento mori, the realization that we are all going to die, right? You're not going to be here forever. So as much as you want to say, God forbid, remember that we're going to make it. No one is going to make it out of this life alive. So the earlier you made peace with that, the better, so that you start putting things in place from where you are now. That does not mean that you now overschedule the kids. If you do 10 minutes every day, progressively over time, compound effect and all, you see that you have a lot done instead of waiting to do 10 hours a single day. The law of diminishing returns will set in, and then you find out that instead of being productive, you are even overworking the kids and burning them out. So in the quest of making ends meet or making life comfortable, be sure that you are making out time. Remember, the children do not need to be over engaged, like you're spending 24 hours with them. You need to find out how they'll prefer to be loved, what actually makes sense to them, and what they'll prefer. Because sometimes I've often times said it, they may not need more than 15 minutes of your time per time. There are times when they will need more. There are times where you absolutely may not even have that time to spend, and then maybe you can make up for it when you have surplus. And so you are managing your energy, you're managing your time according to your seasons. There will be times where, that's why I don't believe in balance. I learned essentialism. I first heard that term from Wendy Ologe. I remember when I asked her, how are you able to balance work and family life and then marriage? And she said, there's no such thing as balance. You just have to decide what's essential to you per time. And then I had to niche down, like really, 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 really maniacally look for what that term meant. And then I found Greg McKeown, and the rest is history, like we commonly say. So at the end of the day, you of course will decide what's essential and build your family schedule around it. What matters to me in the season of my life may not necessarily matter to you or your family. That's why I always say these videos are meant to be an inspiration, not the standard. Okay, now that you heard it, go and look at your work, not based on mine, because my dynamics will always be different from yours. The time I have on my hands will always be different from yours. So you look at what you have, and then use this as an inspiration to guide you in tweaking it, so that you can begin to do better or begin to do more, or probably just leave what you're doing, because what if you are already doing the right thing, right? Well done, by the way, if you already are. The next myth will be the pressure to constantly perform. You see, as a stay-at-home mom, I fall in that I fall in that, should I call it box or mold? Mold. You know, you're at home and you feel like, oh my gosh, I have to do this. I have to do that. It was a time when my kids were much younger, when someone will come to their house and then they are playing with their toys, and somebody just makes a comment. "Ah, you've been at home since morning. What have you been doing since morning? Why is everywhere messy like this?" Please, Bickins, who else does that hurt a lot? Like, it used to get to me. It used to, right? You see how I'm feeling right now. Like, you can actually hear me riled up just remembering it. You see how, I don't know how, I don't know why. I feel like children a certain age just, they find peace in chaos, happy joy in chaos, because you literally just arrange this place. And I remember vividly one time, my oldest should bring down all her teddies from the couch. I literally would leave them on the couch because she was always playing with them. What I did when she was growing up was get stuffed animals. So when she was watching certain TV shows or nursery rhymes, she pick up the, when you say chicken, she pick up the chicken from her stash. When you mention tiger, so it was part of her, let's call them learning aids. So she'd bring them all down and start to play. Imagine you are constantly packing them up and returning them, and in that continuous loop of dropping and rearranging, somebody comes in and says, "Why is your house messy? What have you been doing since morning?" In the midst of it, you are trying to do laundry, you're trying to make sure that the house doesn't burn down, that the child is not even by herself. It used to hurt a lot. It used to hurt a lot. And I feel like we're not extending grace enough to moms who literally have to pause their lives for a while, or who have made the decision to stay back and for whatever reasons be more present in their children's lives, instead of maybe pursuing a career. It may not make sense to you what you've been doing all day, but maybe using that, asking that question, it really, really hurts. Take it from me. It was said to me then, and it really, really hurt me. And most of the times when people see you not doing something, they feel like you're being idle. I happen to be the COO of this organization called My Family. Google it. It's a lot of work to be a CEO. It's a whole lot, from planning family events to communicating, to leading, to managing the staff, to making sure the finances are managed or budgeted or appropriated correctly, to making sure that all accounts are balanced, to making sure that the investments in your care go as they should. Running a family is not an easy task, and for all the real MVPs doing that, thank you so much. So there's this pressure again from society for on women who have decided not to work. Like, if you're at home and you're doing nothing, your husband is the one providing everything, you are labeling, you're castigating, you are making them feel less of themselves because they've chosen not to maybe pursue a career. Not everyone was called to be in the boardroom. Not everyone was called to own businesses. Not everyone was called to have a job. Some people were called to raise their children right, and that's what there's going to be about them. All right. We should make peace with knowing that your way of doing things is not the only way, is not the standard of doing things. And when people have made certain decisions with their lives, they have their reasons. We should respect and honor them, even if we will not appreciate them. We should not make them feel any less than we are, or anyone else who is doing something contrary or different. All right. Because we, by putting that pressure on women, or even on men. There are some men who have decided to be stay-at-home dad. Of course, society would, here in Nigeria, they call them woman rapper. And you don't decide to stay as when now your wife they work. There's nobody that's made men working as a standard. Yes, even if it is what's obtainable. That he's staying at home does not mean that probably he doesn't have a job, or maybe that's what works for that family. All right, that's the dynamic they've chosen. That's what works for them. So why don't you focus on you and what's working for you, and just stay out of other people's businesses? We should extend grace and be okay with the decisions people have made, whether it makes sense to us or not, because it makes sense to them. They are adults. They have chosen that path, and that's it for that. Because constantly pressuring them by your comments or your side jabs would make them lose focus of what's really important: family, rest, and presence. Now, we've mentioned how social media and in notifications do not help. We'll be talking about the long term effects of an over busy, over communicated society. The first one is parenting impact. You see, you not only be emotionally drained, you won't be present, and you now feel guilty for not being present. You could not make your child soccer game for whatever reasons. Beautiful excuses, very valid ones for that matter. You've only not missed out on that moment. You're now guilty. Even for this my job, even for this trip, even for this meeting, I would have been able to go, but now that you have not gone, guess what? You're feeling really, really bad about not going. So it's a continuous circle. It's a loop. I'm not saying don't go for your meeting. Neither am I saying pick your child's soccer game over it, because I already have said what is essential to you in that time, in that season. I remember Carl Newport saying that he schedules his writing or whatever else according to his season. When his semester is going to be busy, he doesn't add any extra workload, because he knows that it's going to be a fully committed semester. That way he's still able to be present with his family. And then he works with time blocks. I think from 5 p.m., if I'm not mistaken, he's done from work. And when he comes home, it's family time, or maybe until the kids are in bed, and then he can tie up loose ends. So figure out what works for you and then stick with it. When you have meetings, you can now say, okay, there was a time where when I was busy on some certain Saturdays, so we had an agreement. My kids and I would be available for 3 Saturdays, and then I'll have one Saturday to myself in case I need to go for a conference. However, if you need to loan my Saturday, I'll collect it from you in the future when I need it back. Whatever works for you. All right. The effect on relationship, the over busy, over communicated society will strain your relationships. It's not just your relationship with friends or your children, your spousal relationships too. You won't have quality time to spend with your family. You won't have quality time to even spend with yourself. Most importantly, how will you build a lasting legacy when you do not have time? The greatest currency of destiny, like Wendy Olege will say, is time. All right. When you're not communicating, you see people are in the rooms and everyone is on their devices. No communication is happening. You don't know what's going on in each other's lives. How would you really connect with someone you don't communicate with? The next one is mental and physical health. Insomnia, high blood pressure, anxiety. There are times you're going through stuff and nobody knows. And because nobody is a mind reader, nobody can come and just look at you. And yeah, sometimes because of your body language or mannerisms or withdrawal, somebody may guess that something is not okay, but they will not be able to specifically name it unless you communicate it. And then sometimes some of us have this weird way of feeling bad that, did you not notice that I'm sad? But I did not say anything. God help you, because it's not the person also has issues, right? They're dealing with. And if you don't say it, how will they know? I tell my daughters, if you don't tell me what's wrong, how will I know how to help you? Right? So when you're over busy, when you're overstimulated in an over communicated society, of course, there'll be adverse effect on your mental health and your physical health too. Because if you're not sleeping and resting well, there's a long list of things that could medically go wrong. I don't want us to get into all of that right now. I always advocate that you fact check. Google is your friend in that regard, right? You can check that for yourself. You need to have time for rest. We're going to show you how. during the course of this episode. Next one is the impact on your children. How will you model discipline to them when you're always on your device? You're not disciplined yourself. When you're not even present. When you're constantly away. Maybe you've gone, okay, you're leaving Singapore next week. From there, you have a meeting scheduled in Vietnam. From there, you are going to Dubai and then to Doha. Every single month, you are traveling at least 3 times. You have no idea what is going on in their lives. How will you model things to them when they are not there for you to witness what's going on, when they are not there for them to see how you handle certain things? While it is very beautiful to be good at your job, or also understand that parenting is a job that you have to, one that is time bound. Like I said earlier, your 5-year-old will not always be 5. Your 10-year-old will not always be 10. All right. So I'm not saying quit your job. I'm just saying find a way to balance things off. You must not go to every trip. All right. With social media or the internet these days, you can have a meeting from anywhere in the world. All the conferences that are holding in several countries, they are not all for you. You don't have to meet everyone. You have to decide what is important to you and be minimalist about a lot of things. Yes, it is better for some things that you can get back to drag on than for some things that are time bound to be left undone. All right. The next one will be impact on your child's ability to self-regulate and manage boredom. Now, if you don't teach them, how will they know? If you don't show them, how will they learn? That is directly tied to your presence to model to them. When your child is having a meltdown, you're not there to walk them through. You're not there to teach them. How would they know? Of course, you can have systems in place, but it comes from you having shown it to them for them to now be able to master it. You must master, then document, like Visit Tempegwayo said, you master, you document, you train before you can delegate. You must master the art of managing boredom, then document what you've mastered. How were you able to do it yourself? Then train them to manage boredom before you can trust them to be able to do it. It should take a while to build certain systems. By the time they are there, trust me, they'll serve you for a long time. The next one will be effects on parent-child attachment and connection. A parent who is not present will not be able to communicate or connect with his or her child. You have to be present. You have to be active in your child's life, because if you do not even tell them what's going on in your life, right? I'm not saying go and bore them with the gory details or overwhelm them with adult stuff. You should be able to censor what you're telling them and teach them to be able to confide in you. Oh, I had a very great day today. I woke up in the morning, I did A, B, C, and D. I did what I put on my to-do list, and I was able to rest right after. How about you? What happened? Okay, you have decided to have landmarks for how your days go, or things that you ask them about. Were you kind to someone? Was someone kind to you? Did anybody do it or say anything that got you pissed off? Did you say or do anything? Find out what works for you. You can't even have a script. All right. Over time, they'll now know that when they're coming back from school, or maybe on the drive back, or maybe after they've settled down, oh, my day went ABC. This is how I did ABC. Remember, James Clear said, you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the levels of your system. If connecting with your children is part of your goals, what systems have you put in place to foster that nurture and ensure that they connect with you? How are you going to build up on your relationship with them and create a safe space for them to come to you, for them to dare to be vulnerable? How are you handling their mistakes so that they can come back and communicate with you? Are you even present, or will they come back and meet your absence? The driver brings them back. Mommy or daddy is not back from work yet. Who will they talk to? And then you expect that when you've not been there all their lives, when they're now grown up, you will be guilting them into coming to visit you. If your presence is not felt, your absence will not make a difference on the long run, right? The next one is the generational cycle of busyness and how it perpetuates. You see, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. So whether you're teaching or not, you're actually teaching something. All right. So when you're showing them that this is how, like as for instance, as a man, teaching them that okay, the man is the hunter and the gatherer. He doesn't have time for A, B, C, and D. Your son will model after you, and he also will continue that cycle. He continue to perpetuate the cycle of busyness, and that will be part of your lasting legacy. Whether you're teaching something or not, you are actually teaching something, and then the children are learning from you. Your children see what you're doing, and then monkey sees, monkey does. They continue to imbibe what they've seen. They continue to adopt it, whether you want them to or not. Your mannerisms, your gestures, and in this case, your culture of busyness. While it is okay to make mad money, like mad ass money, I'm always forced to ask, at what point do you now sit down and say, it is enough? Yeah, I've gotten enough money. I'll just sit down and then live off what I've made. Because you see, when you've made 1 million, you want to make 10. When you've made 10, you set the bar higher for 100, and it keeps going. It keeps going on because human needs are, or is it wants rather, insatiable. You just keep going. At what point do you now pause and say, I am content with what I have, and how does it not now make you complacent? Do you understand? That's like a dilemma. I am okay with where I am. I do not want to go any further because every level will cost you something. All right. Whatever you're doing, you're doing it at a cost. So when you're busy at work, the cost price for that is no time for yourself or for the family. When you've not made time out for family at a certain level, it means, like I said before, because of my square method, I may just be on 80 crossboard instead of maybe striving towards 150 on one part and 100 on the next. So everything has a price. You just need to ask yourself, what is the price for so and so, and am I willing to pay it? Am I willing to pay it? Are you willing to pay it? Now, we've talked about the generational cycle of busyness and how it perpetuates, and that will bring us to something really dear to my heart: legacy conscious parenting. For me, legacy conscious parenting is simply parenting with the future in mind, thinking about how your current actions or inactions affect your future or the future of your children, because you're not going to be here forever. There must be something that people would remember you for, right? Your children continuing your legacy of honor will be something they have learned from you, and then they are continuing to perpetuate. Your children learning to take care of people, to have integrity, to value the things that are important, to treat people as people and things as things, would be a lasting legacy that you have bequeathed to them, and that they will continue, they will continue when you are long gone, right? You see, we have so messed or mixed things up in the society that we just believe that performing outweighs presence. I would rather provide for my children than spend time with them. Or some people say that without money, love, how can you show you're in love? Have you noticed that sometimes why money answers all things? No, all the time. Money may answer all things, but it is not everything. You see, some couples are actually, correct me if I'm wrong, some couples are actually closer when they basically do not have so much than when they have much. Have you noticed? Maybe in your case or somebody close to you, because when you are not pursuing so much, you have time, right? Like I said, there's always a price for everything, right? So when you're pursuing a lot, the time you'd have spent nurturing your relationship, have converted it to time to work on your work, and then that time you are working with is time you no longer have to nurture your relationship. Do you understand? So while I've said it before, I'm not saying quit your job. I'm not saying don't take on that new appointment or task. I'm just saying what is important to you in this season. What would you rather be doing now that does not affect your values as a family, if family and connection is a valuable whole dear, whatever actions you're taking should be in sync with or in line with those values, right? So think about it yourself. If making $100 million or $1 billion would make you not have time for your family, will you be okay with 100 and then make time for them? Because believe me, it gets to a point where no new let me not overcomplicate it. It gets to a point where even if you make $1 more million, it will not significantly impact the quality of your life. For instance, you already have a private jet. Will 2 or 10 blow you unless you have a private jet business that you need a fleet for? Really, when you have a mansion, will having 10 that you're not using for Airbnb or other real estate purposes really impact your life a certain way? You can only sleep in one room per time. You can only live in one home at a time. And so, in the pursuit for more, let us always remember that we're paying a price for it. The next on our list is drum rolls, the sweetness of doing nothing. I'm going to read this from my note. The sweetness of doing nothing refers to a state of being present without constant action or distraction. It's not about being lazy, but about embracing stillness, mindfulness, and being intentionally inactive. Now, I said it earlier, I got it from the Italian philosophy or phrase la dolce far niente, the sweetness of doing nothing. The Italians are always very happy. Like, it's my plan someday in the future to not just go there, to maybe live with them for a while. Oh my God, I love how they always have pasta, how they always have a glass of wine. I think it's Italians and Spaniard, how they always have pasta, they have their meals with a glass of wine, their happiness. I love the language a lot. Oh my gosh, I love the language. You see, it's not just the Italians. I learned about the Danes too, and the concept called huga, togetherness, where they have spaces in their homes for huga, where they believe in togetherness with their families. You see, I learned about Danish parenting, I think sometimes last year, and it got me thinking. There are some things that make certain cultures very, very happy, very, very worthy of note. They've constantly been voted as the happiest country, and I think that's a reason, because when you spend time doing things that really matter, when you're not spending all your time trying to be productive, trying to perform, trying to being under the pressure to do or be more, you find out that you start noticing the little things that count. A smile, maybe a butterfly. I asked someone one day, I said, today you've passed by this route like 10 times at least. Can you tell me what color that bouncing castle is? She couldn't say. I said, because even if you have been passing by it, you've not been present enough to consciously identify or note what the color is. Because even though you are present in person, you're not mindful because your mind is not here. You are busy. You're like your attention, because you have a lot on your mind. How about you schedule time to just do nothing? How about you schedule time to just really feel, take a walk in your neighborhood and just be present and take in your environment. Now, talking about being mindful, I added to my notes the difference between mindless distraction and mindful presence, because you can actually be there, right? Like I said about the lady and the bouncing castle, you can actually be there and then you have mindless distraction. You're present, but your mind is not even present in there. Sometimes we're present in the home. For some of us who work from home, stay at home, we're present in the homes. So that it's not necessarily that we are present, fully mindful and present. And then mindful presence, on the other hand, would be you are there and body, soul, and spirit. You're there. You're observant. You are active. You're participatory. You are asking questions and getting answers. And then when we talk about the sweetness of doing nothing, I'd like to quickly differentiate between nothing and nothingness. One, why doing nothing would be to create time for hygge or togetherness. Nothingness is idleness. You're just not doing anything. And an idle mind is the devil's workshop, or you have scheduled time or space for nothing. Doesn't necessarily mean that you stay with your thoughts and just let them take you wild. It means that you are structuring that time for goal-oriented activity. Now, in this case, the goal-oriented activity may be spending time with your family, taking a walk. That doesn't really translate to performance or productivity. Do you understand? So it's not just about being idle and doing absolutely nothing. Yeah, you're sad and you're just sitting still and then doing nothing, absolutely nothing. Trust me, your thoughts will not leave you alone. You keep thinking because the mind is busy, whether you are not, you're physically active. Since you're scheduling that time, the sweetness of doing nothing, you're not working on a project, you're not doing another seminar or planning another webinar, designing slides, you're not pushing the needle towards any direction in anything that will count as work. You are probably taking a walk or spending time with your kids or playing in the sand with them or building sand castles and all of that. A deliberate choice to engage in presence rather than performance, still being actively engaged with your surroundings and your awareness. For instance, you're sitting on the porch and watching birds. You're sitting and just sipping your cup of coffee and thinking back and, oh my God, what kind of week did I have today? While you're not pushing any needle forward in any direction, you're actually being mindful and taking inventory of your week and saying, okay, oh, I spent time with myself. Okay, how much time did I spend? How can I do better moving forward? All right. Nothingness in this case is void or emptiness, a mental disengagement or checked out behavior. Passive consumption like mindless scrolling, numbing out or escaping from reality. For instance, zoning out while physically present, being distracted by devices once while spending time with family. And then I said that the key difference is that the sweetness of doing nothing isn't about emptiness or disengagement. It is about rich present moment awareness without the pressure to produce, achieve, or accomplish. It is active in its receptivity rather than passive in its emptiness. All right. Now, you are taking a walk with your children and then you're talking about the green grass, you're talking about the flowers, you're talking about the beautiful landscape and scenery, as against just taking a walk and you are lost in your mind. What am I going to wear to work tomorrow? While the activity of taking a walk is beautiful, you're having a mindless distraction. Let's go on to why it is imperative for families to practice or adopt the philosophy of the sweetness of doing nothing and the biological need for rest and recovery. Your body needs it. I can't even overemphasize that. You cannot be fully productive if your body is not well rested, it's not adequately rested. All right, you're not sleeping well, it's definitely have long-term consequences. You need to rest, and resting doesn't necessarily mean sleep. Just sitting and relaxing can count as rest too. You need to create space for authentic connection. The hygge practice by the Danes is one good space. And then they talk about having a corner in your room or setting aside a day for hygge. Hygge in my home is Friday nights where they wear their face masks and then dress up in their PJs with socks and then sit in front of a TV and see a movie together every other time or whatever they choose to do that. All right, you can create the tradition and it'll be a lasting legacy for you and to be a part of their lives. As they continue to grow older, they will find out newer ways of doing things And I bet it's okay to say that you should be okay with it. That they adopt their new styles much later doesn't mean you should be frowning. It means that they have learned, and then their growing consciousness and awareness have made them realize that, okay, now that I'm older, I prefer this to that. Don't let them be tied to a certain thing because this is how you started. Be okay with change and then learn to be flexible. It builds resilience in children because they've seen you model it, because you've taught it to them by your actions. Of course, they would definitely do it to be their default setting. Creating an environment around children makes it easier for them to learn it. So if you have a culture of resilience, it'll be very, very easy for your children to learn to be resilient themselves. Increased emotional availability is the next one. When you teach them that it is okay for them to talk to you when they are not okay, they will extend that grace or that virtue to others when they're having issues. Oh, your sibling is not feeling okay today, or he or she's feeling sad. Can you go hold them and ask them what's going on? You are teaching it. We are creating the environment, and then because you have a sibling mentorship or family harmony plan in place, they are being there for each other, so that whether you're there or not, that continues. All right, remember, all of this is in a bid to continue in your legacy conscious family plan. And remember, we've said it before, memento mori, we are not always going to be here. We're going to die someday. For some of us, it may be 10 or 20, 50 or 30 or 70 years. For some others, it may just be next week. Who knows? Who knows? Nobody really knows when we're checking out, right? That's why Ali Abdal advocates that you write your eulogy. What would you want to be said about you on the day you're laid to rest, or what do you want to be in your tombstone? Just write out your obituary and begin to live from that end. Now, see, when you create that, when you embrace the reality of the fact that you're not going to be here forever and that time is short, you start living in that consciousness and you start making every day count. Start creating memories, a truckload of them, because who knows when we are going to pass, right? And then you start living in purpose. You start spending time with people doing things that truly matter. You don't have time for drama or pettiness, because time is short. All right, time is short. 40 years may seem like a long time, but it is actually, or rather, it may seem like it's short. 40 years, do you know how many hours you have in that time? It's actually a long time. So the whole concept or idea behind memento mori is to reframe your relationship with death. Stop seeing it as something to be afraid of. Embrace it and use it as, should I say, a sense of forced urgency. That was a mouthful. To force you to do the things you're supposed to do, and make sure that you value your presence. Like I said, not all conferences demand that you attend. Not all events were created for you. You don't have to be everywhere. You don't have to be around a lot of people. Yeah, they'll call you a snob. Be good with it. Yeah, they'll say you don't show up. Of course, whatever you do or not do, people will still talk. So, like Mel Robbins will say, let them. All right. Next is healthier families. A well-rested family is a healthy family. A lot of the issues you have in your home may be because you are stressed, you are burnt out, and you had a stressful day at work and you are lashing out. So if you pause and rest or make out time to do nothing, you're not working yourself. See, when you have delegated, like Vuzi said, when you have mastered something, you've documented, you have trained, and then you are now delegating, you buy back your time. You would have time to do the things you ordinarily wouldn't have been able to do. Stop trying to do it all. Yeah, your mother or father raised you without a maid. Their dynamics are a lot different than we have now. I don't like I said, it's not my business to, it's not my job to tell you how to raise your kids or run your family. But trust me, not having help in this day and age, when you have a lot of bills, life is so fast paced, there's so much to be done in such little time, there's so much information, so many things to learn. If you are doing it all by yourself, you are not exactly at an advantage here, because the time you'd have used to make money to make life better. You're using to do chores that you'd have paid somebody to do that would have made their lives better too. And then by the time you are done, you don't have much time to now spend teaching your children. You're burnt out, you're snapping, you're yelling. I don't know, whatever works your boat, whatever works for you, but I think you should borrow a leaf from people who are playing for the global platforms, right? There are certain things they don't do or do that are proven strategies that have worked. I think it will make a lot of sense if you adopt, all right? Now, to tie this all up, I added to my notes that there's a relationship between downtime and creativity or innovation. I'm going to read verbatim. Downtime is essential for creativity and innovation because it allows the brain to rest, recharge, and process information without the pressure of constant productivity. When we step away from tasks and give ourselves time to relax, our minds have space to make new connections, generate fresh ideas, and think outside the box. Have you ever noticed that maybe you're trying to solve a problem and you have kept at it? You have done practically everything. You've even spoken to someone about it. Yeah, the answer is not forthcoming. Probably when you are taking a bath, you get like a light bulb moment and an idea just pops in. You see, sometimes when you give your brain time, you see, you can actually get solutions to problems you ordinarily wouldn't have, even if you were hammering up at it at a certain pace. Now, when we're talking about doing nothing, we're not saying go and quit your job and then be idle and say, the Larry Brown said we should say so. I will always put a caveat. It is the duty of an educated mind, right, to entertain a thought without necessarily adopting it. We have said the much, there would always be something to use, to lose, and refuse. Take what you need, refuse what you can or want to, but be polite about it. But should you choose to be rude, I'm not going to indulge. I'm not going to be bothered about it. And like I oftentimes say, you know, get where you touch me. Oh my god, I feel like a bad guy saying that. That's aside. Okay. Finally, how can parents adopt the sweetness of doing nothing? Number one is creating a space for stillness, adopting the Danish concept of hygge, togetherness. Create a space. It could be a time or a day during the week. It could be a space. Anytime you come into this room, you are not with your phone. You must not do A, B, C, and D. You must be present. You must talk a certain way. Okay, whenever it's Tuesday at 4 p.m., everybody has to do B, C, or D. Decide that. Work with your schedule. Make sure everybody is on board because whatever they join you in creating, they will fight for its protection and they'll continue to own it because they participated in its birth or creation. You must learn to prioritize presence over productivity. That contract while it may give you your next rent, there are certain things that once they've gone, they will never come back. All right. I'm not saying don't pursue. I'm not saying pursue it. I'm saying decide what's essential to you per time. Sometimes you don't need 10 pairs of shoes. Think about it. You have 10 dresses. I don't think you wear them all during the 365 days of a year. Some people have up to 100 pairs of shoes. You always return towards maybe 20 at most. We're cutting down on your dresses or your shoes or every other thing that doesn't matter. Give you more money to spend. Sometimes what you need is not more money, it is less stuff. All right? What you need is not more money, it is less stuff. Learn about this minimalism and essentialism. I think those two will help you. And then if you need to make more money, you must remember that it is at a price and be sure that you're willing to pay that price. Practice mindful parenting. You can put away your phones when you're having a conversation, maintain eye contact, set aside time during the week so that each child may have an hour or so with you. That's how the much time you have so that you can catch up. And then during the day, you can tell them that if they have anything to say, they can maybe come and say, excuse me, mom or dad, can I talk to you for a minute? Can I have 8 minutes? So they can talk to you, all right? Just make sure that they know they can talk to you anytime and that you care or that you love them no matter what. Don't be judgy when they come to talk to you about something, no matter how damning it is. Compose yourself. All right, and talk from a place of emotional maturity so that next time they'll come to you and be able to talk to you. Next one is embrace slow moments. Not every time, guys, let's get B, A, B, C, D, or E done. There'll be times where they will not be able to meet up. It's okay. All right, it's not every time you are in a very hyper motivated state. It's fine. It's always going to be relative. How are they feeling in the moment? What's the weather like? For the day they are not feeling up to it, especially your children, give them grace. How can you make the activity still pleasurable and fun for them while accommodating or making up for their slowness or sluggishness? You need them to be in school by 6:30 a.m. or 7 or 7:30. Can they sleep an hour earlier so that they can wake up an hour earlier so that you won't have to rush them in the morning? Do you necessarily need to do 7-step Bible study in the morning you're rushing for school? Do you need to boil beans or do ever going on a school morning when you can schedule that for another time? You see, when you identify what the issue is, you are able to create, you are the one that is creating the system. You can tear it down if it's not serving you. You can tear it down if in this season what served you in the last one is obsolete. All right, be flexible, adopt flexibility. There are times when my daughter say, "Mommy, can we just not do Bible study tonight? Can we only just simply pray? Can we just share the grace? I'm really, really tired and I need to sleep." Make them understand that it's okay, and then and that it's okay to be slow sometimes. Reclaiming rest. While the society is saying be productive, you must work 9 hours a day for 6 days a week, from work from 9 to 9, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. for 6 days a week. Make sure that your work is cutting across every area of your life, your family, your marriage. All these are parts of your life's work. Don't favor one in place of the other. Rest is not bad. That you're sleeping for 8 or 12 hours does not make you a lazy person. The other person who's sleeping for 4 hours is able to produce at that level. For you that does not sleep for 8 hours, you may not be able to mentally produce anything. And when you now start copying other people or trying to adopt their methods without checking in with yourself to find out if it's okay, guess what? You'll be burning yourself out, and every other thing we mentioned about the long-term effects of the over-communicated or over-busy society start to play out in your life. Find what works for you, all right? Find what works for you. You must develop healthy sleeping habits. If 12 hours work for you, then you must work hard enough in the time you have allotted for work. Block out distractions. Block, of course, time blocking, whatever productivity means or method or tool that works for you. And if you are going to work for 4 hours and you work with full attention for 4 hours, you can sleep for 12. That's 16 hours. The other 8 hours you can spend four with family, and I don't know, with your 4 hours, whatever it should be. I think there was a time where I was waking up at 4 a.m. because I absolutely had to in that season. There was so much for me to learn and be and become that I had to mop up a lot of free time. Like I said, I had a downtime for over a year on my journey towards self-mastery and self-discovery. After that season, I found out that in sleeping for four, sometimes I slept at midnight to wake up again at 4 a.m. It turned out that I was sleeping for only 4 hours, and then I took inventory of my time, found out that okay, if we're supposed to sleep for 8 hours and work for another 8 hours, it means that you have 8 hours, right? What am I doing with that 8 hours? See, when you're being sincere with yourself, your life will be very much easier. I had to adjust my calendar, adjust everything, and make more time for sleep. Even though sometimes I still default, because like I've always said, I'm not a perfect person either. I still try to catch as much sleep as I can every now and then. We've talked about reclaiming rest. Next is creating nothing spaces in your home. Don't I always prefer nude spaces because I feel like too many colors in the place is already a lot of work and it's chaotic. Nothing space can be an empty space where the children can kick soccer balls around, or maybe a space that they can play in. Just make sure that the environment is primed for togetherness to be possible, for presence to be possible. The next one will be calendar management, scheduling unscheduled time. What time do you have on your calendar to just rest, to just be, to Netflix and chill? You must schedule those times. You must intentionally just put them there to remind yourself that it's okay. This episode became imperative because I remember I said in one of the episodes that there was an evening I had nothing to do and I was feeling guilty. I'm going to make sure that my daughters never know what that feels like, that it's okay to have nothing doing, because I wasn't used to it, because I'm used to always doing something. It was new, it was strange. It made me feel very bad. It made me feel like a failure as a mom and then as a person. Why am I not reading? Why am I not creating a program? Why am I not consulting with a client? Why am I just sitting here doing nothing? Oh my God, am I failing? Is life ending? We must make it make it a conscious effort at teaching things to our children that will be part of our lasting legacy, our gifts to them for when we're no longer here. All right, teaching them to schedule time for nothing is actually going to be one very important gift to give to them, because like I said, it's something I felt, the guilt of doing nothing, and I don't want that for my daughters at all. Finally, addressing the guilt that and anxiety that may arise. In my bid to address this guilt and anxiety from doing nothing, I thought of doing this. My daughters are going to see this video someday in the future. I hope they do. And it's going to be a reminder to them that it's okay to not do anything. We are human beings. Let's sometimes just be, instead of always doing and trying to get stuff done. It's okay to just not do anything. Sometimes just wake up and all you want to do that is sleep or see a movie or read a book or just not do nothing. Sometimes your friend may ask you, why are we not going to ABC and play A or B or C place? Are you busy? No, I'm not busy, but I just don't feel like going, or I don't want to go, or I don't want to do anything. Also make it a culture amongst your friends by telling them to. There are times that I'm online does not mean I want to communicate or talk to any or interact with anyone. So do not start expecting that every moment they see you online that you want to discuss. It bothers me when maybe I wake up early and probably for some strange reason, okay, maybe I'm saving something up and you say that I'm online and then you send me a message sometimes at 3 a.m. You expect that I should answer. No vex. I love you so much, but I love myself too. I will communicate with you when it is okay for me to. All right. If it's an emergency, Alexa Moses said, call 911 if it's a true emergency. But in Nigeria, now that we don't have 911, may God help us all. Right. Finally, in conclusion, let's talk about the revolutionary art of slowing down. You are going to get a lot of bad mouthing, a lot of bombastic side eye from not doing anything. You must learn to deal with the guilt that may arise from it. All right, people who are going to guilt trip you. Smart as you are, you're not working. Oh my God, what are you always doing at home with your children? People will talk, and like Mel Robbins will say, let them. They don't understand the system you're operating. And someday soon, with your evidence, with your results, they'll see that you were not stupid after all. All right. It is our job to change the narrative, to bend reality and make status quo obsolete. We're not going to do that without resistance. We're not going to do that without altercations. We're not going to do that without people casting aspersions. We must learn to be okay with it, because it's not something they are used to. I wasn't used to it. I had to learn it. I was these many years old when I found out that it was okay to not do anything. Now that I know it, I'm going to live in it. I'm going to soak myself up in it. It's going to be part of my self-care plan to schedule 2 hours, maybe on a Saturday, on a Sunday, or a Friday, to simply be, hello, my daughters. Okay, I was actively doing that last year. Thursday was mommy self-care day. Don't come to me. Don't text me. Don't do anything. Once it's, what day is it? Thursday. Okay, mommy is out of bounds or inaccessible today, unless of course it's an emergency. For this year, I've scheduled times in between. For a lot of people, it's a week in a quarter, and then a month in the year to not do anything. Find out what works for you, and when you do, stick to it like your life depends on it. Now, I said we should reframe our definition of success. All right. Let us reframe or redefine success for ourselves as parents as not always being busy or productive, but as being present and emotionally available by being essential in what we're doing in our decisions and being minimalist in our actions and embracing the sweetness of doing nothing. We will be more emotionally available and present in our children's life. I hope you've learned something from this episode. If you have, kindly click the like button, drop a comment. How are you going to practice Huga? How are you going to practice the sweetness of doing nothing? What are you going to do differently moving forward? Share with your friends, share with parents who are juggling a lot, who are feeling guilty, especially parents who are adopting a different dynamics from what the society is used to, and encourage them that they are doing all right and everyone will be all right. And I always find so much pleasure not just putting the episodes together, but sitting here and shooting them. Thank you so much for always spending time with us. Until we meet again in yet another insightful episode of the Laurie Brand podcast, stay excellent and keep parenting with the future in mind. Thank you.